what does Africa stand to gain from either a Clinton or Trump victory? Joining us via Skype from Washington, D.C. is the Director, Foundation for the Horn of Africa, Eritrea, Sophia Tesfamariam. Thank you for your time on TBC NewsHour.
Thank you for having me.
And that's exactly where I want to start from. What do Africans stand to gain from either a Trump or a Clinton victory?
We keep putting personalities in these issues every 4 years. As long as U.S. policy for the Horn of Africa and for Africa in general remains incoherent and down almost racist, nothing will change. It doesn't matter who's in the White House. Eritrean Americans got a whiff of this really early in the Obama administration. We figured, okay, an African American is coming, first time black president coming, there will be change. People hoped for change, people believed in change. And the last 8 years have proved disastrous for Africa. Nothing has changed in as far as US policy for Africa goes, just because we got a black president. So now we have a female president. I don't think issues are going to be resolved for Africa if the policy fundamentally remains the same.
Will it be worse if it were a Trump presidency?
I think domestically it would have been worse, but internationally I don't think the foreign policy establishment is attached at the hips with the White House. It's almost working against each other. So I would worry more about the policy than who's in office. Yes, it's historical, and it would be wonderful to have I voted for Hillary Clinton, by the way, not because I'm, enthusiastic with the Democratic Party and what it's done for Africa, but it has a better chance with someone who has leadership skills, someone who knows Africa better than the other party, and probably will have an ear for Africa this time, and the guts to probably change the policy that we're hoping for. But I say go for the policy. Try to get a coherent policy for Africa, and it doesn't matter who's in the White House, male, female, black or white.
All right, you talk about policies being incoherent, and of course you use the word in the racist as well. In your opinion, what do you think that needs to be done to turn this around in the favor of African continent?
Well, some of the work needs to be done by Africans themselves. We have to ascertain our sovereignty. Our sovereign rights are being watered down left and right, and we're allowing it to happen. The African Union is being used as a tool against Africans as opposed to being a voice for Africans. And all the regional organizations that we're talking about, economic policies for Africa. We don't need handouts. We don't need aid, PEPFAR, and all these different programs that come under different organizations. We need Africa's development. If Africa can develop and support itself and self-reliance, then we don't mind coming from the outside, from the south and from the north, and helping us out a bit. But don't patronize Africans. Africans are educated. They're not intellectually inferior. And yes, we may be poor. We haven't been able to use our resources to support our own people's development, but certainly not because we're inferior mentally or in terms of education. If you come to the United States, you'll know that most of their universities are manned by African professors. So we're not stupid.
Interesting. You said Africans must do the bulk of the work themselves. But do you think African governments have the political will to stand up for themselves? For instance, Africans are some of the leading contributors to the U.S. economy who send money back home to their families. So do you think Africans have the will to dictate a coherent and comprehensive policy that will favor the continent for the U.S. government?
I think we can. I think there is a way for the United States to advance its interest in Africa without undermining or subordinating the rights of Africans to their own resources, to their own development, and to their own space and respect for their sovereignty. We see across Africa now, we have the AFRICOM basis. What does that do for Africans? Militarizing Africa is not a solution for Africans. occupying Africa through peacekeeping missions that are endless is not supporting Africans. So I think there's a whole overhaul that needs to be done as far as Africa policy goes, and it goes across the gamut. It's not just the U.S. government, but every institution that's controlled by the U.S. government, including the United Nations.
All right.
So lots of work ahead for us.
All right, Sophia Tesfamariam of the Horn of Africa Foundation, thank you very much indeed for your time.